And what that means is we're going to move a lot with our breath. It's a level 1 class, so we're not going to do poses that are so challenging. We're going to need to go to the Instacare after class. And at the same time, you get to choose if you want to bump up your level of intensity or take it down a little bit, right? Today what I want to focus on is the mobility of our core. We'll do a little bit of strengthening of the core to be sure, but mobilizing all those things that are attached to the core. So by the time we get done, our spine should feel pretty loose and open. We'll feel strong and powerful in our core and those kinds of things. And some of the things that are, just nice to throw in there, some hips, some shoulders, and things like that as well. So to start our practice today, what I want to do is find ourselves in a comfortable seated pose, whatever that looks like for you. And I might suggest, comfort is better than looking zen, right? So if that means, maybe some tight hips might make you sit up right like so, or feel free to, you got a funky knee or something, I think those of us with funky knees know how to arrange, but feel free to sit in any way that feels comfortable for you. Now, as we're starting our practice, just take a deep breath in, hold your breath, sit up as tall as you can, and with an exhale, just let a gentle sigh go out your mouth. And really push the breath out so you're super empty. Take another deep, full breath in, hold your breath, but relax your shoulders, relax your jaw, relax your face, and then breathe out again through your mouth nice and slowly, and really push your breath out so you're really empty by the time you're done. Last time, take a full deep breath in, hold your breath, relax around the held breath a little bit longer this time, and this time when you're ready, lean forward as you breathe out, really pushing your breath all the way out so you're super empty. Now when you come back upright, sit your thumb and first finger together, palms open on your knees. Begin your Ujjayi breath. This is where we breathe in and out through the nostrils. Little whisper in the back of the throat so you can feel and hear the texture of your breath. And as reductive as this may seem, it's super helpful. As you inhale, think the word inhale. As you exhale, think the word exhale. So you're just putting your focus 100% on something as simple and singular as breathing. That's all we're doing here to start our practice. Let's agree to be with exactly what is, and let's agree to simply welcome whatever arises. Acknowledge it for exactly what it is, no more, no less. Be the observer of it, and then respond appropriately based on the information, grounded from this great place of observation. Now, you're welcome to keep your hands on your knees like this, or put your palms together at your heart. But if you have an intention for being here today, right, for doing yoga today, whether that's to find less stress, greater creativity, spiritual awakening, find some way to talk to your cable guy in a way that doesn't rip his head off or something, whatever, whether that be practical or ephemeral, set that intention in your mind right now. And our whole practice, by gaining presence, will find pertinence, pose by pose, breath by breath, particularly in the filter of whatever our intention is for practice. Now, if you want to join me, I'm going to chant the word Om one time to start, and you're welcome to listen or join in. Breathe in. Before we go any further in our practice, I want to start getting some energy moving with a little bit of breath work. So thumb and first finger together again, but this time put your palms down, arms straight, and you kind of push down so your torso gets nice and upright, shoulders kind of relaxed. We're going to take about 100 short spurt exhales out our nostrils with little teeny breaths in between. This is called Kapalabhati, or skull shining breath. So it kind of looks like this. Emphasizing the exhale, putting a little bit of inhale in between. You're going to get a little fuzzy headed at the top, right? Ergo, skull shining. If you're prone to anxiousness, just stick with Ujjayi breath instead. But otherwise, this will get the energy to flow really, really nicely. Now here's the deal. At the end of those 100 breaths, you're going to feel saturated with oxygen. Your brain's going to feel really alive. And at the end of that, you're going to breathe all the way out, hold your exhale, and pull in Uddiyana Bandha. Lower abdominal muscles come up and in. Pull your chin back, and you might be surprised at how long you can hold your breath. Hold it for as long as you feel just barely uncomfortable, and then start your Ujjayi breath again. This is going to kind of like turn the page in our mind, and it'll help us really jump into an energetic practice really nicely. Okay? Questions about Kapalabhati? So give it a go. Remember to breathe in between every one of those, right? It's not like I got like 97 breaths left to go. Where do I go from here? Right? All right. Take a deep breath in. Here goes 100. I'll do the counting. Now breathe out all the way. Hold your exhale, pull your abdominal muscles up and in like a false breath. Hold your breath on that exhale for as long as you can, as long as it's comfortable. Maybe give yourself one more second in the uncomfortable, and then start to breathe deeply again, back with Ujjayi breath, slowly with your whisper breath. Notice your ability to focus. When you do start to breathe back in again, notice your concentration, your level of groundedness, the physical quality of your breath. Now this is totally up to you, but when you get here, we're going to start to slowly move in circles through our trunk. So on an inhale, your trunk moves forward and around. As you exhale, your trunk moves back and around. Or exhale goes forward and the inhale goes back. It doesn't matter, but we're just aligning our breath with some movement. This is a great place for improvisation as your neck maybe starts to move around a little bit, shoulders move around a little bit. I like to say this is part of the kind of discovery part of our practice. Get some energy moving, get some mindfulness happening, and then from here, let's just start to figure out what our body's going to offer us today. If you butt up against some aches or pains, we're not trying to work through anything. We're going to work with however our body's presenting itself, right? You came to practice with a lot of anxiousness, right? We're not trying to work through anxiousness. We're working with anxiousness. Or however you are, this is not the mind over matter. This is mindfulness with matter. Bring your fingertips to shoulders, and as you inhale, open up your chest, lift your chin up. As you exhale, pull your elbows together and round your back. Drop your chin down some. Inhale again as you open up your chest, lift your chin again, and exhale, pull it back. So I'm going to suggest some poses, but particularly the beginning part of our practice, I celebrate improvisation, right? So if you can modify this in any way that works for you, like you're going through this and your body's like, you know what, this feels amazing, I'm just going to turn it into one of these things, or turn it into one of these things, you know, celebrate however your body's going to let you move today. Now we're going to tap into core, both core strength, core mobility. It's going to feel great. We're going to feel powerful when we're done. And let's just go right for the jugular. Let's go straight into a boat pose, Navasana. Okay? Soft through the shoulders. Your hands are reaching. Feet are up. Pull your belly in. Sit up as tall as you can with your shoulders relaxed. Find something to focus on, like your big toe toenails. Get back into Ujjayi breath. Full inhales and exhales. And we're just getting the motor running a little bit, so we don't have to be here forever. Put your feet back to the floor. Open up your chest. This could be our first version, or maybe you lift into full Purvottanasana, our eastward facing stretch. Awesome if you're a river guide. Or maybe split the difference. Bend your knees at a tabletop and just lift your hips up, maybe depending on what your shoulders, wrists would like you to do. Yeah, okay, let's come back into boat pose. So drop your hips back to the floor. Lift your feet up. This time, grab your big toes with your peace fingers, and it doesn't matter if your legs are straight or bent, but maybe we start to straighten up our legs a little to see what happens as you push through the inside edge of your feet. This is actually more of a balance, using our core to help us balance more than even core strengthening. And for the last breath or so, you might even choose to release your hands and keep your legs straight, and then bring it back down to the floor. And you're going to choose number 1, number 2, or number 3. Find something that feels balancing after what we did. Our whole practice last time around was all about finding that beautiful sweet spot, the sattva. That's that Goldilocks, not too hard, not too soft version of every pose to get in the trajectory of the energy flow. Bring it back down, everybody. Come to a lying down on your back position, everyone. And we're going to do these dynamic bridge poses. So you're going to bend your knees with your feet on the floor, hands down by your side, turn your palms open, and just walk your shoulder blades together. Then with an exhale, you're just going to lift your hips in the air. And as you inhale, you're going to lower back down to the floor. But here's the deal. You want to roll vertebra by vertebra up and vertebra by vertebra down. So get as articulate, as dynamic as possible through the spine. Okay, I'm going to be showing some poses. I'm going to be talking through other poses. Just lift up and lower down. Exhale, you're doing your lifting. Inhale, doing your lowering, and you're moving vertebra by vertebra each way, all the way up and all the way back down. Notice any spots that might feel a little tricky. Notice any spots that feel fantastic. Okay, when you get up in your bridge pose the next time around, pause there, interlace your fingers underneath your body, and begin to straighten your arms toward your heels, spread your toes. Now another option too is to bend your elbows at right angles. So your fists point up toward the ceiling, and then pull your elbows down into the floor as you activate your middle back. Perfect. That's great, Lisa. Now press down to the balls of your feet. Let your hip bones lift high toward the ceiling. Give yourself 3 more fat breaths up into your collarbones. A little lift with your chin upward toward the ceiling, just so you feel some freedom in your neck. When you've had those 3 breaths, release your hands and lower back down to the floor, vertebra by vertebra, back down to the floor. Good. Now lift your feet up off the ground. Keep your knees together. Open your arms out like wings, and you're simply going to make circles in the air with your knees, just massaging your lower back into the floor. As you make this nice and slow, you'll use a little bit of core strength to support you. But this is for anybody who gets a tight lower back or has a sensitive lower back. This is like lower back, healing 101. This is such great work for your lower back. There's a whole switch plate of nerves in the lower back called the sacral plexus. And we get this wonderful massage. We can realign the SI joints, get into the deep muscles of the glutes and get those to kind of massage a little bit. Now place your feet back down to the mat. Lift your hips back up in the air again. Bridge pose, take 2. As your hips come up, walk your shoulder blades together. And you get to choose, interlace your fingers and straighten your arms. Make sure your feet stay about hip bone distance apart. Or, the elbows bent thing. Now, here's the deal. If you've got a bunch of energy today, pick up your right foot and point the ball of your foot straight up toward the ceiling. Now, even though your right leg's in the air, it's the one that's vying for all the attention, the foot that's on the floor is the important one. So push that one firmly down on the ground. See if you can lift your hips even higher up in the air. I love it. Deep breath up into your chest. Now switch your legs so that the one that's in the air is going to come down. The one that's on the floor comes up. Now again, this is all about the foot that's on the floor. Full sole, heel and the ball of the foot. That's what I'm talking about. And get even higher with your hips. Higher with the foot that's in the air. Lovely. And then both feet come back down to the floor. Release your hands, lower back down to the mat. Good. Lift your feet up off the ground again and go back for those circles in the air with your knees together. Now this is awesome to coordinate with your breathing. Maybe right ankle over left, I'm showing my cards too quickly. Coordinate with your breathing. So you exhale, the knees pull into the chest. The inhale, the knees move out and away. Slower the better. We're trying to be as deliberate as possible. Now cross your right ankle over your left thigh in a figure 4. Right ankle goes over left thigh, and then reach through with your right hand in between your thighs. Hold on around your shin or your thigh, and then pull your left knee toward your chest. Take a deep breath in. Long exhale back out, soften through the jaw. When your hips are tight, your lower back gets tight. Your lower back is part of the core, part of the spine that we want to mobilize today. So we're kind of taking off the parking brake, so to speak, right at the beginning of our practice to get our lower back to loosen, so our hips to loosen, so our lower back can loosen. Switch sides, everybody. So left ankle over right thigh. This is also in my Yoga Hall of Fame poses, the Yoga Hall of Fame. This figure 4, what it does for the health of your back, what it does for the health of your hips and the mobility, I swear it will add years to your life. Yeah, perfect. And some of you are doing this already, but a little sway side to side puts a little bit of something in this pose that feels really, really nice. Now, when it feels like both sides are balanced, I invite you to come to an L shape. So in other words, you're going to lie on your back with your legs straight up in the air. Flex your toes back toward your shins and press up through your heels. Now, you can do this with your hands pressing on the floor or resting on your belly. But what you're going to do is feel like your lower ribs are pulling so firmly into the mat that your sacrum can practically lift up off the floor. So we're using these deep lower abdominal muscles, rectus abdominis. Now, the objective isn't necessarily to bring your butt off the floor. If that happens, more power to you. I just want to engage those muscles and keep breathing. Now remember, anytime you're going to bend your knees a little bit or a lot in this pose, right? But we're just very consciously contracting those lower abdominal muscles. All right, feet come back to the floor. Lift your hips back in the air. This is bridge pose again. Right? So walk your shoulder blades together. Lift your hips up high in the air. Either interlace your fingers or bend your elbows. Notice how easy it is to want to roll to the pinky toe side of your foot. Make sure you press through both sides, outside and inside of the foot. Okay, release your hands, lower back down slowly. Send your legs back up in the air again. This time, put your hands back behind your head, interlace your fingers, and point your elbows straight up toward the ceiling. Okay, so your legs are up in the air like an L, and you can do these little yoga crunches. So as you exhale, lift the back of your head and your shoulder blades off the floor. Instead of toward your legs, go straight up toward the sky. And as you inhale, slow motion, lower back down to the floor. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, exhale, lift straight up. Inhale, slow motion, back down. Bend your knees if you want a little SOS. Exhale, you're doing a lift. Yeah, inhale, lowering. Perfect. Exactly. 44,000 more to go. Here we go. Exhale, lift, inhale, lower. I'm more interested in quality over quantity. So if you do 3 really amazing versions of these, great. Right? I'd rather see that than 700 sloppy versions, right? Maybe give yourself just 3 more and try to make these your best 3 yet. Super slow, super deliberate, going straight up toward the ceiling. That's what I'm talking about. Lovely. Inhale, slowly lowering back down. And 2 more, just as good, if not better, than that one. Awesome. Taking a regular action like a crunch, adding a body, mind, spirit approach to it. Back to bridge pose. So feet back to the floor. Lift your hips back in the air as you walk your shoulder blades together. Mind your neck so that there's not any tension there. A little lift of the chin toward the ceiling. Any variation is good. So if you want to go the leg up in the air, that's fine. Good. Great job keeping the feet to the floor. Nobody's rolling to the outside of the pinky toes. It's great. Beautiful, everybody. Roll back down, release your hands, roll over to one side, come up to a hands and knees pose, and we're going to move into a cat-cow position. So in a hands and knees pose, shoulders rest right over your wrists, and before we do much here, just do a slight spin out of your fingers so your index finger is pointing straight forward and your middle finger is pointing off at a slight angle. Shoulders directly over the wrist, and then inhale, lean your chest forward as you find a stretch in the belly. Exhale, draw tailbone under, spread through your shoulder blades. Inhale, lean it forward again. Feels amazing. Exhale, take it under. So you're just coordinating movement with breath. And even though we've done a lot of warm-up up to this point in our practice, this is still a great discovery part of discovery for how our body's going to, do what we want to do today. Now, I want to move from here into a figure 8 pattern. So you're going to lean your hips over to the left side, back around by your heels, over to the right side. Then switch and go forward and around by your wrists as you just move this around very, very slowly. Getting into a little bit of this side-to-side bending. This is the lateral bending through the trunk. Now follow me. Keep your left hand on the mat. Reach your right under the sky, a little twist. But then as you exhale, you're going to thread the needle. Bring your right hand down between your wrist and your knee. We're not going to stay there, though. You're going to come right back up to your twist. So reach your right arm all the way back up toward the sky, and then put your right palm back to the mat. Okay? Keeping it dynamic. Lefty goes up on the inhale, threads the needle on the exhale. Come all the way back up, reach to the sky on the inhale, and then left palm comes back to the mat. Okay, same thing, right side, reach your right arm up toward the ceiling, inhale, thread the needle on your exhale, reach all the way back up on your inhale, beautiful, hand to the mat, last time, last side, lefty goes up on the inhale, threads the needle on the exhale, awesome, reach it back up toward the sky, inhale, and then hands and knees pose. Awesome. Downward facing dog. First down dog of the day. So curl your toes under, lift your hips up in the air. Keep your knees maybe a little bit bent this first go around. With your fingers spread wide, get as much of your palm rooted to the floor as possible. And you might find that that slight angling out of your fingers gives your wrists a little respite. If you've got very sensitive wrists, you could try bringing your feet as wide as your mat. That's really helpful. Now, I want you to lift up onto your tiptoes, everybody. Tuck your tailbone and roll into plank pose. But then we're going to roll back into downward facing dog. So lift back up through the shoulders, lift through middle back, lower back, hips, and just roll back through downward facing dog. Okay? So you're going to roll into plank, tailbone lifts, tuck your tail, roll into upper push-up, and then just reverse that. Shoulders, middle, upper, lower, and then roll back and forth. You're like kind of inchworming your way forward to plank. Good. The next time you do this, roll all the way to plank, hold that for one inhale, and on your exhale, lower down slowly to chaturanga. This is a dynamic cobra. Start with your shoulders. As your shoulders roll back, peel your chest off the ground, and then exhale, lower back down, belly, chest, chin to the mat. Shoulders are the main driver. We're going to lift up on the inhale, and back down on the exhale. The next time you're in the cobra, maybe even an upward facing dog pose, let's hold that, but the only requirement is that it feels amazing. So if that means you come down a little bit for amazingness, stick with a down, kind of a lower one. Otherwise, when you're ready, maybe on your next exhale, lift back into downward facing dog pose. In down dog, bring your feet together so your ankle bones touch. Point your toes to the right. Bend your knees and then pull your right hip back. You get this great stretch down your right side. The muscles between your ribs, these are the intercostal muscles that help you breathe. The big long muscle that connects your armpit down to your sacrum, your latissimus, the lats, right, helps you pull, right? The muscle between your hip and your ribs. This is the QL, quadratus lumborum. Helps you shimmy your hips. Switch sides, knees and toes point to the left. Pull your left hip back a little bit. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, bring it back to neutral. Look forward to your hands. Step, walk, or hop, feet to hands. And then inhale, swing your arms forward and up to the sky. Do a little arch in your back. And then as you exhale, bring your arms parallel to the mat before you bring your hands back to your heart. And anytime we come to this pose, this is the time to connect back in with our purpose for practice today. So whatever you came to practice for today. Now we're going to kind of work our way slowly through some classical sun salutations. Okay? So follow me. We're going to inhale with the arms forward and up with a little arch in your back. With an exhale, keep your abdominals firm as you lean forward, kind of a big forward fold. Then as you breathe in, step your right leg back into a deep kneeling lunge position. Let's hang out here for a couple of breaths. Good, a little stretch in the groin muscle, really super nice for core mobility, hips mobility. Plant your palms down and slide your feet together in a downward facing dog. A little bit different than maybe what we normally do in down dog. From here, lift your heels up high, tuck your tail, and roll forward again into plank. And even if you're good at chaturanga, bring your knees to the mat. Open up your chest by dropping your chest to the mat. Butt stays in the air. And then drop your hips as you roll your shoulders back into cobra. Nice. Push right down through the index knuckles as you lift your hips back into the sky. Looking forward, inhale, step your left foot up between your hands. Drop your right knee back to the mat again. Lean forward into your left foot as you take a big step forward, right foot forward to meet the left. Swing your arms forward and up. Arch your back slightly, drawing your tailbone down to mitigate that, and then hands back to heart on the exhale. Okay, left side goes forward and up, inhale. Take it forward on your exhale. Left leg steps back to your deep kneeling lunge position. Plant your palms, slide your feet back into downward facing dog. Lift your heels high, roll to plank, inhale, and then knees, chest, chin, exhale. Cobra pose, inhale, and downward facing dog, exhale. Look forward as you inhale, step your right foot forward between your hands. Left knee touches the mat again. Big step forward, left foot comes forward to meet the right. As you inhale, swing your arms forward and up with a little arch in your back, and exhale, hands together, back to heart, back to your purpose of practice. One more time. Inhale, forward and up. I'm watching this time. Take it forward on your exhale. Beautiful. Step your right leg back to a kneeling lunge position. Yeah. Lefty goes back to downward facing dog. Feet come together. Lift your heels high. Roll into plank. Good. Then knees, chest, and chin to the mat. Yeah, good. Nice. Cobra pose, inhale. Lift your hips in the air, downward facing dog, exhale. Step the left foot forward to hands, inhale. This is a kneeling groin stretch. Then step right foot forward to meet the left. Looks amazing, everybody. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. All the way up, forward and upward toward the sky. And then exhale, hands back to heart. Here we go for our last time. Last side, forward and up again, inhale. Take it forward again on your exhale, Uttanasana. Left leg leads this time. Inhale to kneeling lunge. Right foot to downward facing dog pose. Roll into plank. Inhale. Tuck the tail. Lovely. Knees, chest, chin on the exhale. Good. Cobra pose. Inhale. You got it, everyone. Downward facing dog. Exhale. Come, bring it home. Right foot forward on the inhale to a kneeling lunge. Good, Karen. Forward with the left foot on the exhale. Good. Stand all the way up. Big inhale. Reach to the sky. And exhale. Hands together. Back to heart. Lovely. Take a deep breath in. Deep breath out. Deep breath in. And deep breath out. Now, swing your arms straight up to the sky. Interlace your fingers. Take your left big toe and touch it to the floor behind you. Micro bend your right knee and engage your abdominals. And then in slow motion, tip your way forward into Warrior 3 pose, sort of a core-informed Warrior 3, right? So you're using your core as the glue to hold all of this together. Now, you're welcome to modify and open your arms like wings or put one or both hands on your thigh. Endeavor to keep your left heel high, just as high as your left butt cheek. Put your left hand to the floor now. Reach your right arm to the sky in a twisted half moon pose. Good. Parvritta Ardha Chandrasana. Lefty's got to stay high in the air. I love it. Super strong. Now, you're going to keep your right leg on the floor. Swing it back up to the sky. And I know I'm asking a lot, but you're going to cross left ankle over right thigh as we now move into Garudasana, eagle pose. Yeah. Nice. Good. And then unwind and just bring it back to the floor. Nice, everybody. Can we still be friends after that, right? After like the, hey, let's throw in a trick eagle at the end. All right, here we go. Bring it up. Interlace your fingers. Now, before this gets intense, find your core strength, then step your right big toe back, a little bit in the left knee, and then pitch it forward into Warrior 3. If you ever start to lose your balance, just bend your standing leg a little bit. Give yourself a little support. One or both hands to thigh, if you want. Now drop your right hand to the mat. Reach your left arm upward toward the ceiling. Twisted half moon pose. Looks inspiring. I love it. How high can your right heel lift off the floor? Yes. Yes. Now this is going to magically move into eagle pose. So bend your left knee, cross right thigh up and over left thigh. You're going to stand back up before we get quadricep failure, right? We're going to like wind this thing all up and find a balance. Unwind, place it all back together, hands to heart. Nicely done. Good. Arms to the sky, full big breath in. Gentle sighs, you lean forward again into Uttanasana. Let's hang out here. In this pose, round your back as much as you can go. Imagine that you were kind of rounding over like a bar, and you're trying to get your back to be as rounded as possible in this pose. Think of tucking your tailbone toward the floor, lifting your mid and lower back upward toward the sky. Good, Meg. Good, Michael. Yeah. Good, Lisa. Perfect. So we're going for not only hamstring flexibility, we're going for dynamism in the hips, the hip joint, and all the way through the spine, right? There's nothing to do here. You're just rounding your back and enjoying the stretch. Good. Take it back to a downward facing dog pose. Plant your hands to the mat, step back. If you want to move through a vinyasa, that's to say chaturanga, up dog and down dog, be my guest. You got some chaturanga bars that are going through R&D. You got to make sure they're working right, so you got to use those as much as possible. No, that's good. It's all good. Raise your right leg up in the air on the inhale. Step your right foot forward between the hands on the exhale, and move into Warrior 2 pose. Chris, I was just saying, if you've got like your chaturanga bars, you're going to want to use those as much as possible, right? Now put your left hand to hip, turn your right palm open to the sky, reach upward toward the ceiling and begin to lean back without straightening your right leg. So your front knee bends just as much, and do a slight lift in your pubic bone. So we're getting a stretch in the groin muscles. At the same time, we're adding lateral bend, side bend to the trunk. Slide your left hand even further down your thigh, or wrap your left hand behind you and grab hold of the inside of your right thigh. Holding this pose, drop your right palm behind the back of your head and pull your head into your hand to open up your right side for 3 more breaths. If you've got it in you, bend your front knee even a little bit deeper. Good. Now unwind this thing after you've had your 3 breaths. Straighten up your right leg, lean forward into triangle pose. Now you might even choose to keep your left hand behind you. It feels great to open up your chest. You might choose to then send your left arm to the sky, classic triangle pose. Now, once you find yourself in a pose, hang out here for a couple of breaths, and then wait for your body to inform you where to go next, right? Sometimes you're going to want to go a little deeper. Maybe on an exhale, you go a little bit deeper. Maybe progress means backing off the pose to get into that sweet spot. Like we talked about last week in class, finding that Goldilocks between effort and ease puts you into the flow where you get much further than just muscling your way through a posture. Yeah, good. Okay, ease your way out of this. Put both hands back to the mat. Step back into downward facing dog pose. Optional vinyasa. Looks awesome, everybody. As you're ready to, raise your left leg up in the air. Big inhale. Step your left foot forward between the hands on the exhale and open into warrior two on the left side. Quick anatomy check as you align your feet so the front heel's in line with the center of your back heel. Your trunk is nice and upright and open. And find that perfect Goldilocks between effort and ease. Now, without shifting very much, do a slight lift of your pubic bones, like your lower abdominals pull in a little bit. A little lift, because it gives you maybe a little stretch in the groin. Soften the shoulder. So there's, again, a way to balance effort and ease. Right hand to hip, left palm goes up. And this is a clean lateral bend. So your hips are going to stay quiet. They're not going to move. You're simply going to move the trunk. You're going to move your vertebra side to side as you slide your right hand further down your thigh. Take a couple more deep breaths into your left rib cage. Maybe wrap your right hand behind you if that feels good, going a little bit deeper that way. Yeah, nice, Karen. Interlace the fingers between the shoulder blades. Love it. Now put your left hand behind your head if you haven't already and pull your head into your hand. Use your head pulling back as the leverage to open up your chest even more. Then unwind this pose as we move into triangle. Straighten it out. Lean forward as much as you can and feel great. Hand to the floor, shin block if you've got it. And then open up into Trikonasana, triangle pose. Again, if your right arm was already wrapped behind you and that feels good, keep that. What's your breath doing here? What's your core strength doing here? Perfect. Last breath, and then exhale. Put your hands back to the mat. Step back into downward facing dog pose, optional vinyasa. Now I'm going to spend a few moments in a resting pose. Down dog could be your resting pose. Cat-cow position or child's pose could be a resting pose, right? Nobody gets a medal for being the most uncomfortable in class. So if, what feels perfect for you is relaxing, do it. If it feels good to stay in down dog, do it. But come back to your breath. Check in. Notice what's happened to you in body, mind, spirit so far in your practice. Let's move our way back to hands and knees on your way to cat-cow position again. Round your spine on the exhale. Inhale, lean your chest forward. See if you can find a stretch through your belly. Then exhale, round your spine again. So we want to coordinate the stability of two different muscle groups. Number one, middle upper back, so between the shoulder blades. And number two, lower abdominals. So when you inhale, draw your shoulder blades together and feel the strength in your upper back. And then as you exhale, slightly draw your tailbone under so you also feel your abdominals. Hold that and just lift your knees an inch off the floor. Okay? Now let's use some complementary muscle groups, some synergist muscle groups. Even though our abdominals are doing the heavy lifting, triceps, deltoids doing the heavy lifting, let's also use pecs. Squeeze as if you're going to pull your arms together. Use your inner thighs, which innervate and engage the muscles in the floor of the pelvis. So imagine your inner thighs pulling together. Now you get to choose. Next stop is downward facing dog. So whenever you're just done with this pose, lift into downward facing dog. Keep your palms spread wide. And here's the deal. I'm going to count to 5, and in slow motion, you're going to bring your knees gently back to the mat, but you're going to use your core strength to support you, okay? So start to lower on the inhale, bend your knees. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now come back to cat-cow position. So knees come all the way to the mat. Exhale, round your spine. Inhale, lean your chest forward, and round your spine. So we're going to do something sort of similar to what we just did, but we're going to work some asymmetrical balancing. So it's going to feel consciously awkward for the sake of opening and supporting ourselves using our core. So as you inhale, draw your shoulder blades together. And you can do this on your forearms too if that feels better on your wrists. As you exhale, draw your tailbone under just a little teeny bit. Then reach your right arm straight forward and reach your left leg straight back. Now naturally your back is going to want to dip here, so see if you can pull your lower abdominals in almost like you're trying to round your lower back. Squeeze your left bicep in toward center, so you activate pectoral muscle. Even though your right knee's on the floor, imagine your right inner thigh were also drawing to middle. Holding this strong, open your right arm perpendicular to your trunk, so straight off to the right. Open your left leg perpendicular to the trunk, straight off to your left. And if possible, keep your left heel high, working the strength of your glutes. Awesome. Now bring it all back to middle. Bend your left knee, reach back with your right hand and grab hold of your left foot with right hand. Once or if you get it, kick your foot into your hand, lean your sternum forward, find a stretch through your pec and a stretch through the quads. Then release hands and knees and come back to cat-cow position. Nice. Good. You know, arms are smaller than legs, right? Right side's different than left side. Everything's kind of ski-wampus, and so the neutralizer, the balancer, is our core strength. So we're using our core to balance everything that would just otherwise be kind of ski-wampus. Okay, so as you inhale, draw shoulder blades together. Keep your strong upper back as you also engage lower abdominals. So even before any limbs come off the floor, all the muscle groups are already engaged. Now left arm goes forward, right leg goes back. Opposite arm to opposite leg. Almost round your lower back, right? So you're very consciously engaging your deep lower abdominals. Perfect. Now open up left arm to the left, open up your right leg to the right. Keep your right heel as high as your butt cheek if possible. It's inspiring, everybody. Looks beautiful. I love it. Now bring it all back to middle. Bend your right knee and reach back with your left hand to grab right foot. If you grab your foot, kick your foot back, pull hand to foot, foot to hand, and let this bow your back. Lean your sternum forward and kind of point your chin forward. Still focused on your right arm on the floor, your left knee on the floor, pulling to middle line. Good, and then bring it all back to hands and knees pose. Lovely. And your choice, cat-cow position or move through a figure eight or some thread the needles or whatever. Just kind of neutralize your spine here for a couple of breaths. Now, come to a seated position. I'd like to revisit boat pose, Navasana. So, classic Navasana, knees bent, shoulder blades together. If you're feeling a little bit more gung-ho, you could also choose to maybe straighten your legs in this pose. We've got about 6 or 7 breaths here, so you get to choose whichever way works best for you. And if you kind of really dug this version, maybe try this version of the pose. Whichever one you're choosing, yeah, and you can even have your hands behind your knees, right? But whichever one you're choosing, take full deep breaths in and out through the nostrils, using your Ujjayi breath. When you've had 6 or 7 breaths, counterpose, either your seated version of this pose, the full version of this pose, or split the difference with tabletop. Good. Let's bring it back down. So the half version of this pose, Ardha Navasana, is where we open up like this. And we're going to take a dynamic version between half boat pose and regular boat pose for about 5 repetitions, okay? So I'll face y'all. And you can do this holding the backs of your legs too, okay? Let's inhale, open it up. Exhale, pull it back in. Inhale, open it back up. Exhale, pull it back in. 3 more. Quality over quantity. Good. And then choose your counter pose. Good. Bring it back down to the floor. Now bring your feet up, hands together. If, as an option, you could keep your big toes on the floor. Otherwise, you're going to inhale here, drop your hands to the right and your feet to the left. And then inhale, bring it all back to middle. Working these side abdominal muscles, the obliques. Inhale, middle, right, middle, left, middle, right, middle, left. Little variation this time. You're going to exhale, hold the pose on the inhale, hold it on the whatever, inhale back to middle, exhale, inhale, exhale, all back to middle. We made it. All right, counter pose. Choose whichever one feels good. Open up your chest. Awesome. Okay, so just cross your shins, move forward to hands and knees pose. And I want to counter with just an easy version of high cobra or up dog. So from hands and knees, just bring your hips forward and stretch your belly. Try not to dump into your shoulders. Keep it high. So shoulder blades pulling together, shoulder blades slide down your spine, and just give yourself a nice stretch through the front side of your body. Good, then lower back down, belly, chest, and chin. Rest your forehead on your wrists and just kind of lie down, face down on your yoga mat. Now, slide your hands down your rib cage, almost like you're going to do a push-up, but your hands would be a little bit closer to your hips. And instead of on your palms, press onto your fingertips. So you want to use mostly your upper back muscles to pull yourself back up into a kind of an assisted locust pose, right? So it's like cobra. Fingertips are on the floor, but I want to use mostly upper back. In fact, I'm going to even lift my hands off the floor and just keep myself upright, or very lightly have my hands on the floor. And then we're going to lower back down and relax. Okay, same thing, either fingertips back, or this time let's go into full locust. Interlace your fingers, straighten your arms as you lift your feet up off the floor. Good. Lift your sternum, come up right under your bottommost rib cage if you can. Good, and then lower back down and relax. So we've got 3 versions you can choose now. The first one with the fingertips to the floor, so kind of cobra adjacent. Second pose, locust, where you interlace the fingers. Or version number 3, you can bend your knees and grab hold of your feet into bow pulling pose, okay? So choose whichever one you'd like. I'm going to show you bow, where you bend your knees, grab hold of the feet close to the ankles, and then kick up into bow. When you've had a good run, we're going to relax, neutralize for a couple of breaths. Come back up to hands and knees pose. Round your spine in cat pose, and you're going to hang out in cat. A lot of times cat and cow are put together, sort of a transition to other things. I want to just hang out in cat. So just keep your spine as rounded as you can. Pull your belly in. And after 4 or 5 breaths like that, lift back again into a downward facing dog pose. Now in down dog, raise your right leg up in the air behind you, bend your knee and open your knee toward the ceiling. Endeavor to keep your shoulders square. So this is a rotation on the ball and socket of your left hip joint. And draw your left heel downward toward the floor. We're going to end up in a pigeon pose. So when you're ready, bring your right knee forward between your hands. Flex your wrists. So either a regular garden variety pigeon, or if it would serve you better to do a lying on the back version like we did at the beginning of our class, then cross right ankle over left thigh. In your regular pigeon, walk your hands forward until you find something in which you can relax. Long breaths. Judge your pose 1 to 10, 10 being the most intense, and see if you can stay at like at a 6, maybe 7 tops. And if that means kind of backing off the pose a little bit, you'd be better served with a lighter pose. Deep breath in, everybody. Extra long breath out. Slow, deep breath in. Long breath back out. Three more breaths. See if your body might relax a little bit more with every exhale. Again, we're not trying to effort our way to go deeper. We're trying to relax deeper into the pose. If you are in regular pigeon pose, you might take a couple of breath cycles to slowly cycle back out into down dog. If you're lying on your back, you may choose to simply lie down on your back, shake out your leg one side a little bit and shake out the other side before you end up in figure 4 position on the other side. Otherwise, for regular down dog, regular pigeon pose, come to down dog, shake out your right leg a time or two, then pick up lefty and shake out lefty a time or two. Eventually send your left knee, open it toward the ceiling. Keep your shoulder square. Yeah. And when it feels right, then place your left knee forward between your hands and calibrate the pose for pigeon. It might take a few breath cycles to get in the exact sweet spot. Negotiate if your knee is going to let you do what you want it to do. Soften as you come down onto your elbows. Allow your breath easy, slow passage in and out of your hip. Relax your jaw. This is a prana blocker. This is a even longer exhale. Maybe 3 more breaths, or whenever it feels like this side is balanced with the other side, then we're going to neutralize again. You might slowly make your way back to down dog before shaking out your leg. If you're on your back, just stay there and shake out one leg, then the other leg. Eventually though, after you've balanced, after you've kind of shaken out your legs a little bit, we're going to end up back on our back again, knees bent. So we sort of started our pose, our practice. One of the first poses we did was bridge pose, and I want to hit bridge pose one more time, and this will be our last sort of active pose of our practice. Lift your hips up in the air as you walk your shoulder blades together. Again, interlace your fingers and straighten your arms, and here we've got some options. You can stay with our bridge pose. Remember we did the one leg up in the air bridge. You could do one of those. If you feel like full back bend is in your practice today, you want to put your hands up by your shoulders and lift up into a full back bend. So there's a little bit of improvisation here. Whatever's going to feel amazing, right? If what would be best for you would be an inversion, right? Shoulder stand, phenomenal. Headstand, great. If you're familiar with the dropping onto your elbows, the Dvipada Viparita Dandasana, right? Back bend on your forearms, great. Your version of back bend is the right version of the back bend for you. When you feel complete with whichever pose, be that shoulder stand, headstand, wheel pose, bridge pose, whatever you got, come down. Happy baby is our next stop. So we'll lie down on the back, bend your knees, reach up and grab the outside edge of your feet. Take your time getting here. Draw your tailbone down into the floor as your shoulder blades come down to the floor. Deep breaths. After about 5 or 6 rounds of breath in Happy Baby, now bring the soles of your feet together and pull your heels in toward the groin for Supta Baddha Konasana, supine bound ankle pose. Alternatively, you could just rest the outside of your feet to the floor for even a more passive version of the pose. Hands on lower abdominals or lower thighs, either one works, as you breathe deeply down into your belly. Longer exhales. This is the part of our practice where everything's starting to wind down. So we really want to focus on the releasing part of our breath. That's our exhale. Feel as if gravity were just pulling your knees gently to the floor, opening you up in the most kind of generative way. When it feels right, you're going to bring your knees back together. Lift your feet off the floor again. Remember the circles we made at the beginning of our practice? So arms can stay open like wings. You're going to circle your knees in the air as you massage your back into the floor. Enter awesomeness. Place your feet back to the mat. Lift your hips maybe an inch or so off the mat. Scoot your hips to the right, but drop your knees to the left in a twist. See if you can keep your right shoulder blade on the floor as you reach toward the right, look toward the right into your twist. You might even cross your top leg over your bottom leg. Pull your knees maybe closer to your chest. Using core strength, slowly bring your knees back up. Scoot your butt over to the left side of your mat before you drop your knees over to the right. Very good, everybody. Keep your left shoulder blade on the mat. And then when this side feels balanced with the other, bring everything back to middle, and let's get ready for our last pose, Shavasana. So getting ready for Shavasana might mean there's another pose or two your body's looking for before we finish our class, right? So listen to your body. If there's something you need to do, right? Another hip opener, another twist, right? Get that shoulder stand in you wanted to do, great. If you're perfectly ready for Shavasana, then just lie down Let your legs open up. Let your hands either rest on your belly or to your side. Send a sigh out your mouth. Signal your whole nervous system to relax, to let go. We've been working our core, this Manipura chakra, the third energy center, and this is the center of our power. As you're relaxing here, I invite you to let go of all the doing. Let go of all the parts of you that are trying to strive to do things, to achieve. And for a moment, for the rest of our practice, let's focus on the part of you that is powerful just because it is. Powerful just because you exist. Choose one spot of your being, like the passive breath, maybe the feeling of your navel, solar plexus. Anchor your attention on that one spot. And if your mind ever wanders, just come back to that spot over and over again. Everybody take a couple deep breaths in and out through your belly. Move fingers and toes a little bit. Then come back upright to a seated pose as you're ready to. I want you to open your arms wide with an inhale, lift your hands up toward the ceiling. With an exhale, hands back to heart. And if you want to join me, we'll chant Om once to finish. Inhale. Awesome practice, everybody. Namaste.